Welcome to General Biology. Today's presentation is going to be on non-Mendelian genetics, and we're going to be talking about polygenic traits. So polygenic literally means many genes. So these are going to be traits where we have multiple genes involved in determining the trait of an offspring. So skin color is an example of this. Skin colors on our planet vary from dark brown to light white. And depending on where you originated, the closer you are to the equator, the darker your skin is. And the further you are from the equator, the lighter your skin is, with the exception of Eskimos. So what is the science behind the skin color? Why is there an advantage of being darker near the equator and lighter as you move away from the equator? Well, it turns out there's a substance in our bodies called folic acid, which is a vitamin that is very sensitive to UV radiation. And this vitamin is super important to have at high concentrations when you're pregnant because it's very important for preventing birth defects. Well, if you're getting exposed to too much UV light when you're pregnant, it can deplete the folic acid that's moving around inside your blood, and it can lead to birth defects in your offspring. So having dark skin near the equator is a huge advantage to humans. As we moved away from the equator, there wasn't nearly as much UV radiation, and so the damage to the folic acid was depleted. And as you move away from the equator, you wear clothes a lot of the time, so the amount of skin that was exposed was less and less. And so what happened was, without enough UV radiation exposure, our bodies stopped producing enough vitamin D. And so in order to produce enough vitamin D, people started evolving lighter and lighter skin as they moved further and further from the equator. So if you're far from the equator, you need to have light skin so you can produce enough vitamin D. If you're near the equator, you need to have dark enough skin to protect your folic acid. The reason you need vitamin D is it protects against brittle bone disease, which is called rickets, which can develop when you lack vitamin D. All of these polygenic traits are going to form a bell-shaped curve. So if you look at the world population, you see a curve like this. So most people in the world are medium color. So if you think of all the Asians and all the Indians and all the people that live in South America, okay, people that live in Mexico, a lot of medium colored people. And there are some people that are white, and there are some people that are black. And people who live real near the equator are black, and people who migrated away from the equator are white. But everybody else is kind of in between because it's just how things work. It's like a bell-shaped curve. The average tends to be a medium coloration. And that will be true of pretty much all of these polygenic traits: eye color, skin color, height, hair color, intelligence. All of these traits that are multiple gene traits, you're going to see that situation. In most of these multiple gene traits, you have a few genes that are really important, and then you have a bunch of other genes that are less important but still have an impact. So for example, in eye color, we know of 33 genes that impact eye color. 3 are really important, and the other 30 have an impact, but it's a much less impact on the color of the eyes. You can see here that most of the blue coloration is found in the same region where we find blonde hair and light skin. And so that's where most of the blue eyes that have spread all around the world originated, was in the Northern European region. Same place blonde hair originated, same place fairly light skin originated. Hair color, you can see there's a spectrum of hair colors. And if you look at all these different hair colors and put them side by side, they'd form a bell-shaped curve in our population. Um, a lot of people have dark hair. Uh, Blonde hair originated, and actually it probably would be a skewed bell towards more dark colored hair because there's a lot more, for example, like Chinese and Indians and people like that than there are white people on the planet. There are 700 or more genes associated with height, and you tend to have men being a little taller than women, probably a sexual selection thing that took place back when we were developing. You see in a lot of different organisms, males are a little bit bigger than females. Um, but in both cases, in males and females, you see a bell-shaped curve. They're different bells, but you see a bell-shaped curve representing the heights around the world. If you look at IQ score, okay, same thing. You have a bell-shaped curve representing IQ score because multiple genes are involved in determining your IQ. There's some environmental factors involved in determining IQ as well, but there's lots and lots of genes involved in determining the structure of the brain.